How's it going? My name is Brent from ENCORE, and today we are going to go over how to tint a Tesla Model Y roof. So we're going to go over basically every step, and then a bunch of little tips and tricks on how to get this film shrunk and then installed. Let's get started. All right, so first things first, we need to clean the window and then bounce pad it. This car is already super clean, so it's not going to take much to get this clean. Sometimes I'd wipe over it quite a few more times, but the customer brought this one in pretty spotless. All right, so while it's still wet, if it's drying off real fast because it's hot outside, the glass is hot basically, you're going to want to then add some more slip to it. Only problem with the extra slip added to it is it's going to take longer to dry. All right, so we're laying the film out on the roof. So let's go ahead and pull this way. Okay, let's see how that looks. So this is a 60-inch roll, and we carry these 60-inch rolls in stock just for the Tesla windows, at least the big ones. Okay, so I just lined this edge up pretty good here, and then we'll go ahead and trim the other side off. Let's take a little bit of material off the back here. Okay, so when I'm coming up the side here, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to have just one blade out, and I'm going to run this right along the edge of the glass. Because we don't want to be putting the blade on the surface of the glass, so we don't want to scratch this big old window. You don't want to scratch any window, but especially something like this. Alright, so now we need to go ahead and put our H pattern into this, or tack this down with the H pattern. So I'm going to go ahead and wet down everything I can reach. And if you want this to be a little bit easier to shrink, the other thing that you can do, it looks like the glass on the interior part ends about right here. So you could trim the film a lot closer to that. Yeah, it's right here. You could trim the film a lot closer to that, and that'll give you less fingers on the side. Although I'm not really worried about that. This film shrinks really well, so. Alright, so that's just a sponge with some water on it. And then we'll go ahead and take some type of a Bondo card. I like to take one with a felt on it. And then I'm going to go ahead and tug on this a little bit and kind of shake it around and then work our way down. And we want to go right down the center with this, and you can tell where the center is because it kind of ends right there in the middle along with the rear view mirror. And then for this part, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna do the same kind of thing, shake it a little and bring it this way. We don't have to get rid of all these fingers. We don't care about any fingers that are not in the glass area that's visible inside. Okay. So as you can see, I've got the back doors open, which is, the front doors isn't such a big deal for this part of the process, and I'm gonna be stepping right in here. And so this is an area you need to make sure that you clean up once you're done with the install. But I'm gonna be kind of resting against this window here when I'm up here, and that's just for balance. You can see the film was a little weird on the roll there, so it's got some of those, I don't even know what those are, it's like little diamonds. But those aren't going to show up on the final part of this once it's installed. It is interesting though. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and bring this over. So these fingers here, that's kind of how I get around leaving the extra on there, is I don't bring those all the way to the side because they're not necessary to be heat shrunk. All right, let's go ahead and get started shrinking this. All right, so this is a Steinel heat gun. It's fantastic. It's expensive, but fantastic. All right, so what we're gonna do is just keep a couple fingers under here, and we're gonna start out here and just start working our way towards the edge or the side here. And as I get closer, that's where the fingers under here are gonna come more into play. Because what we're gonna do with those is make sure and hold the film up. We don't want any of it laying flat like this because we wanna shrink some of this finger in this area. All right, and so when I'm shrinking this, what I'm looking for is I'm looking to get rid of most of these little marks and turn everything mostly into lines going this direction here. All right, let's get over to here and bring this down, and then we'll finish all this up here. So you can see as I'm shrinking it, it's, you know, it's really tightening up all in this area here, and I'm just running that edge back towards me. So as I kind of move around with the heat gun, I'm also going to be moving my hand to hold the film up in that area. Ooh, it's getting hot though. Might be worth wearing a glove on both hands. Alright, so sometimes as I get closer to the edge here, I will go ahead and push this out just to make sure that we're nice and tight here. And then if it's just little fingers like this, you can go ahead and just heat those. It's hard to keep your finger underneath those to bring those all the way to the edge. But I mean, it's the other thing that I know here is that the window ends about here, so I know I'm way past where I need to heat shrink to. So these little marks, I'm going to go ahead and put some, I mean, it's not totally necessary, but I don't like having little marks like that left. And so I'm going to bring over some air from underneath here and put it underneath those, and then put a little heat on them, and you see that those go away. Basically, we've released the memory of those from the film, and then we don't have to worry about those on the inside. It's not so important on this window as that would be like on a back window with defroster lines, because if those are going to cross a defroster line, they'll start, the air will stay trapped in there. No matter how many times you push it up, it'll just keep coming up, and then you'll have to use heat to get that down. Okay. So the other thing you want to make sure of is that you don't have anything on your pouch sticking out here that's going to scratch any paint or anything. This side, I'm probably just going to throw this in at the end of the video so that it's not so redundant. It's just the same thing as the other side. So if you want to watch this, just go ahead and jump to the end. All right, that's getting a little ridiculous because we know the window ends about here and comes out to here, so that's shrunk plenty. The rest of this stuff is gonna push out real nice once we get it inside. This is great. And these edges are looking really good. All right, let's go ahead and go over the process of trimming this, and then we'll get started on the install on the inside. All right, so what I like to do is use one of these lights here in order to get myself some light on the underneath the roof so that I can get a good trim all the way around. And this will get moved from here up to the front. Okay. Now what we're going to do is shut the lights down. That'll help us see that inside light better. And then what you want is like a piece of plastic like this here. And you're going to be running your blade around the edge with this underneath the film. Let's go ahead and get that going. So basically I'm looking through the window at the light, and then I'm cutting about 1/4 inch wider past that as far as the edge that I can see right now. So 1/4 inch over, and that'll give us plenty of material to tuck in, which is going to be a headache. Also, because what happens is on Teslas is that the interior goes past the edge of the window. So if you don't get enough coverage out to the sides, you can see a whole bunch of light gap, and I'll show you that on the inside. We still may end up with some of that. We just try to limit it. All right, and same with the back. You want to give yourself about a 1/4 inch. Okay, now to get up here to see this, what I usually do is I'm usually in flip-flops. I'm gonna stand back up here and I'm gonna put one of my feet on the seat and then hold on to the interior and lean over. I'm gonna give myself again at least a 1/4 of an inch here. And then we'll go over to the other side. All right, now let's go ahead and move that light. Another thing that you can do for this is to have somebody on the inside with some kind of a flashlight, and they can just kind of follow you around. This works well if you want to, you know, get this done by yourself. All right. Sure. All right, so here's a step I don't take much unless I think my heat shrink didn't go great. But if you want to just double check your work, you can make sure that all this is pushed down and then see if you get any fingers on the side. I do have one right here, so I'm gonna go ahead and show, I think that would go away just fine on the inside, but let me show you how to tighten that up to make sure that you don't have any issues with that trying to lift on the inside. So double checking this shrink is a great idea if, you know, this is one of your first few Model Y roofs. All of this could also apply to the Model X. It's the X, right? The other one with a roof like this? S? Or the Model S? Oh, the X has the wings. Yeah, okay. Thank you. All right, so we're just gonna put some heat on this, and then if anything starts to pop up, we know that needed a little bit more shrinking. And, you know, there was a couple things real minor. This one was decent size, so that's the type of thing that you'd really be looking for to push back down, make sure that now this edge is nice and tight, and that'll be really helpful once you get the film onto the inside. I'm kind of just checking that side from here, and that looks good. I'm not going to worry about anything over there. All right, so I'm going to use a I don't know, I call them a Blue Max because that's what used to be in here, but right now it's a red line extractor. I still really like the Blue Maxes, so I kind of go back and forth between the two, and then I am going to be using a side swiper and whatever this tool is. All right, so let's get a little bit of water on the board here, and then we'll go ahead and transfer this pattern onto there. All right, let's transfer this pattern over to the board. And you do want to make sure that these corners are stuck down real good. Otherwise, this piece of film is going to curl up and fall off. All right, so I brought the visors down, and then we're gonna go ahead and move this seat all the way forward. And then it'll stop like this, but if you push it one more time, it'll give you a bit more. There we go. So this one I'm gonna move forward as well. And I'm gonna lean it a bit forward. But I am gonna leave area for a helper to sit here. It's actually gonna be my wife. She'll sit here and hold the front in place while I am rolling the back out. All right, let's get this cleaned up and get this installed. So I'm gonna wet it down, and I'm gonna use a scrubby pad on this. So while I'm cleaning the window here, I'm going to be kind of keeping an eye out for any of the panels that are actually touching the glass. Like right here, it's actually touching. It's gonna be harder to tuck the material in underneath that, so I just wanna make a note of that. So as I'm cleaning this and giving this a good scrub, a lot of times I can hear like kind of like a tick sound if this happens to run over anything that needs to be cleaned off better off the glass. It's like really stuck. So if I hear something like that, then I'll just put my hand on there and feel for it and see if there is anything there. So I'm tucking this in a little bit. We're gonna go around the edge. That gets tight there, but it's not tight like right here. All right, let's go ahead and squeegee this. So during the install on this, I'll either be using one of these squeegees here, just you know, what I use on every other window, or I'll use this squeegee here, which is just for cleaning windows. We use this when we're doing residential. The nice thing about using the regular squeegee is normally it doesn't drip so much on the down on the vehicle, on the interior. Actually, I'll show you that here because you're wiping it off a lot more. So every time that this squeegee leaves the glass, I'm going to be wiping it off with the towel. So as you can see, I'm not dripping as much onto the interior when I'm using the regular squeegee here. Okay, and then let's go around this one time. My hand is going to touch the glass during this squeegee around the edge, so I am going to wipe my hand off with the towel. Okay, squeegee's kind of catching a bit, so let's go ahead and just give a tiny bit more slip solution on there. And you know, speaking of the slip solution, give yourself some extra slip in there. This is something that's going to definitely use some extra positioning, and it's going to take a bit longer to actually get it laid into place before you can position it. So you don't want that starting to tack up, otherwise that's going to make it really difficult. All right, so now I've got the window cleaned, and I know people are probably going to hate this but I promise, you wipe that off it goes completely away. You're basically cleaning the interior a bit for your customer. This is not going to leave a mark on a Tesla, otherwise I wouldn't be doing it. I know I'm getting a lot of water on the panels here, and I will show you how to take care of that to make sure that you don't leave any streaking on the panels on the edges here where it's going to be like dry right there. I will show you that at the end. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and give, I don't know what you're gonna be able to see here, but we're gonna go ahead and do a reverse roll or California roll here. I cut my fingers this morning, or my fingernails. I'm sure you know how that bodes for the first day or two. All right, pull that back, get your slip solution in there. We'll lay this back down. The area up here that I've been putting my fingers all over, I'll go ahead and spray that out. Hopefully you're gonna be able to see this with this camera angle on my forehead. Is it even on? Yeah, all right, it's on. Now, because I only grabbed this with my fingernail, I'm not going to need to flip it over and spray it down. That's a technique I use only when I'm sticking my full fingers on there. All right, so we're going to start the California roll or reverse roll from the back, and then to the front. I want to put the front out first, or lay that on the glass first and then start unrolling. So that needs to be, anyway, we're going to go ahead. That's a bunch of useless information. When I start attaching this to, when I start putting this up onto the glass, I want to start putting the front on first. So we're going to reverse roll from the back to the front. Oh, and I guess I should have misted this before you got in. You ready?
Yeah.
All right, so Heather's gonna hold this front in place while I roll out the rest of this. When you're putting this on, it's more important that the middle gets stuck down than the sides. Uh-oh, what just turned off? Great, that's great.
Your head?
Nope, that was the Sony sound. All right, thank you. All right. Let's go ahead and get the whole center tacked. Okay, thank you. I'm gonna go ahead and figure out why this camera decided it's gonna turn off. All right, so once you get this up into place and the middle is tacked down, it should, and not tacked down, but just laid down on the glass, it should hold itself here. We'll remove the liner, and now we're gonna go ahead, let's get this off first. All right. Now let's go ahead and get to tucking this in. I had to replace or work on a camera, so we're this took a few minutes, so we might have a little bit of pre-tacking now, which is going to be a real bummer. Okay, so all we're trying to do now is tuck all this in, and what I'm trying to do is get this stuff laid on the glass real flat and slide it in there. Let's go and continue to work our way around here. All right, so what we're gonna do is kind of check for how much of a gap we have. Now the gap I can see is gonna be back here right now, but we don't wanna leave a gap in the front. So I'm gonna move that just to where it's covering. I'm gonna check the sides. Got a little gap here, so we do need to come to this side a little bit. You just want to try and have as little gap as possible anywhere, especially on the sides and the front, as far as I'm concerned. All right, that looks good. It's not much back there, so that's good. Let's go ahead and start squeegeeing this out. So for my first squeegeeing, I'm just gonna take a card like this and lightly push out as much of the air and slip solution as I can, and we'll get this laid down real flat on the glass. And then on the next one, we'll go ahead and come through and get that, all the rest of everything out with the Blue Max. It's a good idea when you're talking with your customer about tinting this window to let them know that if you're not going to be removing the headliner here, that they are going to have a little bit of a light gap around the window in certain areas. Otherwise, the whole headliner needs to come down in order to get real full coverage all the way to the very edges. All right, let's go ahead and squeegee this out. All right, so we went and tacked it down. Now we're just gonna move all this stuff out to the sides. All right, now that we've got that squeegeed out, we're gonna go ahead and go back to either this card, or sometimes I'll use a Bondo card like this. And we're gonna go ahead and swipe further back in there and get rid of some of these fingers and get rid of that slip solution that's on the edge back in there. It's important that you don't push like this or straight, because you're going to bunch the material up and then crease it. So you want to keep a good angle. All right, so let's see if there's any fingers left that we need to deal with. All right, there is one here. I'm just gonna put more pressure with this and make sure I'm getting far enough back that I'm hitting the edge of the material. All right, so at this point, if there's any fingers left on the edge, I'm just gonna go ahead and let them dry for a while. And then I'll come back and push them down later. That usually works just fine. If there's more of a finger than that that doesn't want to stick down after it dries a little, then I'm gonna use some heat from the outside. Just like any other window. All right, so let's go ahead and wipe this clean. Okay, now we're gonna go ahead and work on these panels here and make sure that we don't leave a line where the moisture ends from the install. So we're gonna dry the whole panel. And then we're gonna push on that edge real good. How did I turn those on? I don't know. I don't know how to turn emergency flashers off. I don't even know how I turned them on just now. Obviously hit something, probably with the towel. All right, we're gonna leave those on until I figure that out. Oh, up here. I've tinted I don't know how many of these. Never had that happen before. Oh, the emergency flash is up there. I just bumped it with a towel, or with my hand and the towel. That's the first time I ever turned those on, and I'm slick looking at the screen thinking how I was gonna turn that off. So just make sure to do a real thorough job on this. And using the damp towel that you've been using for the rest of the install is great. It's just gonna pick up a much more water anyway, and then that'll help you kind of blend the part that was already wet to the dry part. So this is an important step. This is actually my least favorite step. Just make sure you do a good job. All right, and then once that's done, we're gonna go ahead and wipe down the interior.
You should use this as a microphone.
Why?
Just 'cause.
How's that gonna help anything?
I don't know, that's great though.
Should I turn it on? Okay, I don't know how this is going to, people are gonna be like that anyway. Okay, all right. Oh, you guys should see her running around all goofy and stuff. She's getting a good laugh out of herself here. All right, well, that's how you tint the roof on a Model Y. If you found anything useful or helpful, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. So this part I'm probably just going to skip right now in the video, and if you want to see this, you can watch it at the end after the outro. So you can see I'm just bringing all all these fingers, this whole area is coming back at one time. So because that finger was going more like this, we want to heat shrink that until these fingers start to go more sideways. So this is an Autobahn film. This is their i3 ceramic, and this is the 15%. Now what I did here was kind of over shrunk it a bit right here, so we're having some issues with these fingers going like this. Hey Ron? All right, so let's go ahead and see here what we can do to correct that. Basically all I did was put a little bit more tug on it. And then we're gonna go ahead and heat shrink these fingers out here. Okay.